Hi,
Hey, how you doing?
fine, you?
Pretty good, man. Best day ever.
Great.
Good. So, what do you want to talk about?
I just want to know how you had 21,000 students if you're only 35 years old.
Okay. So, you know basic math, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Pretty good. So, over 8 years, almost a decade, I had 21,000 students.
Where did you work?
I worked for DMM.
You work for what?
DMM.
What is that?
Well, you asked me where. I'm answering where. DMM is the name of the
Yeah,
platform.
that's a platform.
Yep.
So, okay. So you had groups of, let's say, 200 students,
One on one.
101,
Yep.
and you had 21,000 students so far.
Yep.
So you change students every day.
Yep.
Ah, why?
I it's not that I would like to change the students. It's just that they book whoever is available for the classes. So that's how it works.
How do you know it's 21,000? Like you were counting them or something? How do you know that? Do you have a record of those students?
Well, yeah, of course, man. The platform says, okay, so this is the amount of classes that you have given in this amount of time. So all you have to do is set your dates from the start to finish, and it's going to tell you how many students you have. It's 21,000 students, but that doesn't mean that I had 21,000 classes. Most likely that was probably around 38,000 classes, more or less,
Wow.
because some students were regular students. Some of them booked my class almost daily.
Okay, great. So I would have to use my calculator because I'm not very good at maths. But anyways, that's not the problem. The problem is that I think that the material you want to sell, telling people that they can learn 10 times faster, I think that's very common on the internet, and that is not true. I mean, what do you mean 10 times faster?
Well, that is your opinion and it's respectable. It's absolutely respectable. Look, if I didn't believe that he's 10 times faster, I wouldn't even have this conversation with you. I would just block you. But no, I'm very glad to answer that question. The thing is that the average student that came to my class, they would spend years, on average 4, 5, 6 years, trying to learn the language. And mind you, they were all from Japan. They were not even from Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
And with the activities that I suggested to them through all of those classes, on average, they would always come and tell me, like, hey, all the progress that I have had in these last 5 years, I acquired that in 1/10 of the time, just doing what I tell them to do. So,
The Japanese students told you that, or the
yep,
Latin students?
Japanese students.
So what do you mean that the time they were taken before, like 6 or 7 years, they reduced it to 2 or 3 years?
Less than that, 1/10. Like, for example, one of the most common scenarios was a person who has been studying English as a second language for 5 years would have the same amount of progress in 6 months doing my program on average. Some of them would have them in a few weeks. Some of them would have them a little longer time than that, but on average, 1/10 of the time.
So how much time do you think that a person should be studying every day to learn in 10 months?
I don't know. Look, what my book tells you is strategies on how to become your own teacher. And once you know how to do that, you can accelerate your learning curve 10 times faster. It's like it's like being able to teach you any other skill. See? It's like when you know how to analyze your weaknesses and to keep a record of your weaknesses over time, you can analyze like, okay, so these are the rooms of improvement that I should follow. These are the strategies that I should have in order to have this accelerated curve over time. See? So that's basically what the
So,
book tells you.
so in your book, you don't teach any grammar or vocabulary, you just teach strategies, right?
No, I do teach vocabulary heavily because I found out the hard way that this is probably the most common issue that students have. They think learning vocabulary is very hard. See, it's a notion that they have. So what I do in the book is tell them exactly how they can acquire the habit of getting vocabulary in 7 weeks. And that comes not with this book right here, but with a complementary book that is sold in tandem.
Okay, so basically what you are offering people is a book of suggestions and recommendations, the same as Callie Anders. Do you know him, or Open English or something like that?
I do know those names, but obviously I've never used those services, so I cannot recommend them. But I do know them.
Okay, and can you tell me one strategy that you teach about acquiring vocabulary?
Good. Yes. The most effective one is to learn via association. And what I mean by that is, you know what? Let me show you. I'm going to show you the complimentary book that I wrote specifically for vocabulary. Let me show you my screen.
All right.
Okay, so this is the book. It's called Synonyms and Antonyms. It's not a dictionary, but it's going to turn your brain into a dictionary. Obviously, this book uses this English. It comes with a video training on page number 5, but that's not important. What I want people to know is that this whole book is one single 7-week activity. It's not just a regular book that you can read in one go. As you can see, is basically split by letters and by days. So the idea is that you would practice with 1 page a day. That's it, no more than that. And you would associate one universal concept like able with all of their, well, not all of them, but some of their synonyms and antonyms. So instead of you analyzing one word, what you would do is become proficient in 8 other words that may mean the same or the opposite. And that is a more efficient way to acquire vocabulary.
Okay, but how are they supposed to study that, by heart?
Look, I made a video explaining how it's done, and the video is 17 minutes long. So if you're interested, you can just go ahead and download the book. This book, by the way, this blue one is free. You can get it from the link in my bio.
Is that for free?
Yeah, this one is for free. The vocabulary one is for free. The full framework, which covers vocabulary, pronunciation, listening, syntax, pace, and accent reduction, that one is not for free. But the one for vocabulary is completely free. If you go on to page number 5, you'll see this blue button here. And that's going to take you to a 17-minute video that I made explaining all of those questions that you have. Today we're going to cover.
Is the video free too?
Yeah, it's free.
All right, great. So, so this book can only be used by intermediate students, right? The independent students.
Exactly.
Okay. So you're not offering this to elementary levels or beginning levels, right?
You're right.
Oh, that's great. I thought it was for everybody. That would have been a scam.
You are 100,000,000% right. It would be a scam. So this book, that is the first thing I tell everyone. This book is not for everyone. It's just for people, for a very niche kind of person. See, it's for those individuals that have studied English for years and they see little to no progress and they hit a plateau. So that's who I wrote the book for.
And what's the difference between buying your books or getting a dictionary online and studying from a dictionary?
The dictionary is boring. I did that. Like, I memorized probably like 95% of the dictionary in 6 months. And I don't recommend that to anybody because you're going to get bored very quickly. I did it because I wanted so bad to learn English. And it literally was the difference between not making any money as a young student and providing for my family. So that's why I did it. And most people don't have the same kind of motivation I understand
Yeah.
that. So the difference is that you can do it on your own. Absolutely. I did it. And I think that was the best decision in my English learning journey by far. Memorizing the dictionary almost completely accelerated my journey like I don't think anything else has even come close to that.
How are students supposed to learn how to communicate something in an oral way, speaking to people, if they only read things?
Good. That's a very good question. The book explains how you can use the free version of ChatGPT to do that.
Mm,
On top of that, there's a 900 member WhatsApp community that you can practice with, and they do role plays every single day, multiple
okay.
times a day.
So they will be practicing with other students from your platform.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's good. Okay, great. So your book is fun. It's not like a dictionary.
No, it's not. It the main intention for me to write it was to enable people to think like a dictionary. Look, let me show you right now. This is the WhatsApp community right now. Sorry, my phone screen has some weird lines there. I don't know.
No problem. No problem.
I think I just broke it,
Everything's
but
going good.
look.
For you, Damian.
See, they're having a conversation right now. So yeah, that's how they do it.
So and about I want to ask you something more personal. Where do you live right now?
Sorry, I live in Barranquilla, Colombia.
Okay. Have you ever lived in an English speaking country?
Briefly, but not the same way that most people do. I worked on a cruise ship, so I don't think that counts as living abroad.
Just a little bit because you have to speak English all the time, right?
Yeah, but the people that I spoke with, they were not native for the most part. So I don't think it counts. It doesn't count as me living in the US.
And have you ever lived in the US?
No.
No.
Like I said, briefly, like I cannot say that I lived there. I worked for multiple companies. Actually, I haven't even had a job in Colombia that requires me to speak Spanish. Like for the last 17 years of my life, I've always used English. Always.
All the time.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked for call centers or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great.
I worked in customer service, in sales, in telemarketing. Most recently, as a BDR, as a business development representative, getting clients to certain call centers in Barranquilla as well. But right now, I work as a copywriter. I have my own small business as a copywriter.
As a copywriter, what do you do exactly?
I do mostly B2B sales. Like I do sales scripts. Sometimes I do email marketing. Sometimes I do funnels. Sometimes I run ad campaigns. So yeah, a little bit of everything.
Good. That's a good job.
It's not a job; it's a business. But yes, it is a good activity.
But you're a freelancer, or you have your own company, or you work for somebody else?
I do have my own company. I register in the United States.
Oh, great. That's great.
Yep. Okay. You can find the name of the company in my look. It's literally underneath my profile picture here, right there. See?
Start filmmaker. What?
Industries LLC. So that's the name of the company.
Is it a company that you founded?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
You can even check the I in the BBB database.
Good.
So I'm
Great.
pretty sure that that answered your question 100% legit. Everything is legit. There's no intention of scamming people here. If anything, what I want is for Latin Americans and people all around the world to start making more money using English. And it requires a lot of work, a lot of discipline. I'm not here to like tell fairy tales to anybody. So
Well,
yeah.
I wanted to ask you. I thank you for talking to me because I wanted to make sure that you are not a scammer because I have some Facebook groups with lots of people, and there are so many scammers. They are trying to sell courses, classes, and I feel pity for those people who believe that they can learn faster, that they can learn in 2 months, they can learn. I don't know the promises that people give. So, well, I just wanted to know that.
And I feel you. Look, somebody literally just bought the book right now.
That's great.
See?
That's great.
Absolutely,
A
man.
lot of
Everything.
people should buy. I mean, like what I know about people who want to learn English is that a big amount of people, a big number of people, don't want to study formally, or they don't want to read, or they don't want to do anything. They just want to learn English, like I don't know,
Exactly.
photosynthesis.
Look, my intention with these, with all of these, is to encourage people to say, like, hey, you can teach yourself. You actually don't need to spend money on teachers. You really don't need that. See, that's the whole purpose of this podcast, is for people to understand that there's a way, a logical way in which you can teach yourself and you can calculate your own progress and develop the necessary discipline to start making money using English. See, if anything, I'm an anti-scammer. I don't want people to pay that much money to learn a such a valuable skill like English. But at the end of the day, English, yeah, it's highly valuable, but it's also simple to learn. See, and there are proven steps that you can take to accelerate your journey. And when I said that I had 21,000 students, that is not a joke. I did that for 8 years as a full-time job. And
Yes, that's good. Mhm.
right. I know it sounds a little bit hard to believe because one of the most common comments I get is like, oh, you don't look 35. But believe me, I'm 35. Like I was born in 1989.
Wow. Well, you look pretty young,
Hmm.
and that's because you eat a lot of arepas, right?
That could be. That could be the case.
That's a good food. I like it. I like arepas. Well, great. Well, thank you for the conversation. I hope that people can study and teach themselves. They also I am a teacher, so they need a teacher if they want
Sure.
somebody to help them.
Look, I understand in my podcast, there's so many people asking me, like, hey, teacher, do you offer classes? And I always say to them, no, I'm not a teacher. I'm a copywriter. I just want everyone to learn the same way I learned and the same way I taught so many other people in the past. But I always make it very clear, I'm not a teacher anymore. I don't really dedicate my time to that anymore. But one very huge percentage of people that come to my lives are teachers, precisely. See?
Yeah.
And I understand that certain customers, certain students require a teacher. See, not everyone is wired to learn to be self-taught, if anything. Okay, so whenever I see a teacher here, I always try to promote them as much as possible. For example, 2 days ago, no, like 4 days ago, I had a very deep conversation with a teacher called Damiana from Argentina,
Oh, great.
and I actually promoted her profile because she makes a living out of it.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, that's good. So you can promote my TikTok, but this is not my TikTok as a teacher. I have Inglés con Christian. If people want to go there, I don't have much time to make videos, so just from time to time I post something. I don't live. I mean, I don't make a living out of videos or TikTok or those
Okay.
things.
Me neither. I really don't make a living out of this. Like, look, do you think with like a $10 investment I'm gonna get rich? That's not. That's never
No,
gonna
no,
happen.
no, not at all, not at all. I understand that. No,
Right.
but to earn that, I have to teach like a 40 minutes class because I usually charge $15 1 hour to my students in Argentina. So imagine that if I create a book that is a scam, I would be very happy to sell people whatever I do. But yours is not a scam. I mean, I understood the concept, so I'm pretty happy that there are people like you trying to sell that to people. But people need to understand that they need to have a very good motivation to learn English, and not just because they open a book they will learn. It's just not magic.
Exactly. Right. I always say that. Like, I even go further and I say, look, you don't need motivation. You need discipline. Discipline is a much more powerful tool to get you what you want in life. And I always say this, if anyone has been here from the very beginning, which was like 2 months ago, I always say just use English as a tool to make money. See, English should not be what defines your life in any shape, way, or form. It should only be a tool for you to start making money and start having your own clients. So,
Exactly. That's good advice.
all right, pretty good.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much for all of those important questions.
All right. Thank you for clarifying everything.
Absolutely. Hope you have a great night and take care. Okay.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
Bye for
Bye
now.
bye.